And howdy, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to Tilson Live. I'm your host, Eric Allerid, Senior Vice President of Tilson Homes, part of the fourth generation of the Tilson family. And I am joined, so fortunately, as I am every single time, thank God, by our Director of Marketing, Dawn Dantzler. Say hi, Dawn.
Hi, Eddie.
Happy New Year, Dawn.
Happy New Year.
So, folks, as you're jumping in, tell us where you're coming in from. I see we got some folks from Stephenville, some folks from Lake Hills. So yeah, we're all so grateful to have you today on Tilson Live. Really excited to talk about a very nuts and bolts kind of subject, right, Don? What are we doing today?
We are going to talk about land prep and everything that makes Built on Your Lot different from a production builder, and all the fun stuff that you guys get to be such an active part of.
Yes, some very important details. My gosh, look at all the people. This is great. Yeah, Houston, Texas, Las Vegas, Aubrey, Hondo. Did I see Germany? I see Germany.
From Germany? Oh, wow.
That is deep East Texas. Fredericksburg, New Caney, the Nolia. I see a fellow, Mr. Greathouse. So that's great. Awesome. Anyway, welcome everybody. Keep telling us where you're from. We will be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions as we go along, we cannot wait to help you answer them. We're going to try and give you everything we possibly can in this time here we got here today about what do you need to do to get your land ready to build a custom home on it on the Built on Your Lot process. Bells, Texas, and Mansfield, Dallas, Austin, Burleson, League City, Richwood. These are all places I recognize from our country job maps.
That's awesome.
This is great. Yep. All right. So glad everybody's here. Hope you had a wonderful holidays. Dehanus, we got there towards Uvalde on Highway 90. So here we go. Let's get into what we're going to talk about today. I know folks are going to have tons of questions along the way, so we will pause for questions throughout the presentation. So don't, if we don't get to yours, we promise we will. And we'll be here as long as you need us to after the webinar is over and answer everything that we can. So we'll give you just a brief Tilson history. I think most folks have probably got that figured out by now. They're still rolling in, Dawn, Austin, Hardin, San Antonio.
I know, I see that. For whatever reason, it's not showing in my producer software, but I can see it on the actual social channels. So.
New customer in Callisburg. All right, so Build on Your Land overview, kind of what's different about that than kind of a production home that's already ready to go, or a resale home in a subdivision somewhere. Pre-construction responsibilities. We're going to try and figure out how come you, the builder, can't just do it all, just be done with it. You're supposed to do everything, and we do as much as we can. As much as you'll let us do, in fact. And some of the important documents that you're going to have to present and show that'll help expedite the process. What do we do about utilities? How do we make sure that we have, good water, flushing commodes, power, propane, gas, access? That's the next one we'll talk about. And then site planning and preparation. It seems like a lot, so we know that it can be an overwhelming experience, and we are here to make it as easy as possible for you guys. So we want you to have all the questions answered. We have found that the happiest customers of ours are the most educated customers that know the most about the process and understand the transparency. So we're not here to try and sell you anything. We are here to just make sure that you know exactly what needs to be done when you're building a home on your land.
Absolutely.
All right. Bulverde, Texas, San Antonio, Texas. So Tilson Home, we've been doing this for, I guess we got to change this now. Do we got to change it?
We do.
We're 89 years. I guess we'll give it a month. We'll give it a month. So we're knocking on the door. 90 years been doing this, 4 generations. We were founded in 1932, of course. We've over 40,000 homes, and on average, about a family a day moves into their new Tilson home. So what in the world is even building on your land? Obviously, it doesn't just mean a little lot. It can mean anything. It can mean farm. It could mean a ranch. It could be a retirement home that you plan to move to later. It could be a second home, a vacation home for the family, lake property, ranch, whatever. But basically, it just means the home of your choice built on your site that you own. You don't have to own it 100% outright. We'll talk about that a little bit, but you do have to at least be entitled to the land. So how come Tilson can't just do everything, Dawn? I thought we would just do it all. What's stopping us?
We would if we could, but this is very different from the typical, kind of subdivision build in that it's your land. So there are a lot of things, since we're not the owner of the property, we're not allowed to do them. So things like requesting a 911 address, that's really going to be up to the property owner to do that. And we can absolutely, all of these things that we're going to talk about today, we can guide you through.
Yes.
It's just that we're kind of relying on you to actually do it because you're the owner. So we don't really have the rights to do it. So looking at things like a 911 address, making sure you've got a good address, so people can find the property just in case there's an emergency. Utility setups. A lot of times getting your utilities connected are going to require an easement to be granted to the utility company, and we can't do that on your behalf. So we're gonna help you through that process. In some counties, we actually can't file for the permit on our end. We can fill out all the paperwork for you. We can get you most of the way there, but you're the one that's going to have to actually sign the document and submit it again, because you own the land, we don't. And then there's, some other responsibilities that come with building your home that aren't necessarily included in the base price that we're going to quote you on our website, just because we don't know how much you've already done and how much needs to be done. So those are things like site clearing, getting your septic system, all of those kinds of things.
That's right. Yeah. So, going back to kind of the easement one, I can't give you, Dawn, permission to cross someone else's property. Right. That's kind of the whole thing there. So a lot of times the utility, particularly electric companies, they want like a 15-foot or 30-foot wide utility easement so that they, trees aren't falling on the electrical lines all the time, and they can get in there and mow it and keep it kept. Your builder cannot grant that easement because it's your land. So little things like that that we need your help on. But we walk you through all of that stuff. So before you build, what are some of the things you need? There's some very important documents we're going to talk about that you're going to need before we can start. Utilities, obviously, we need to know. They don't all have to necessarily be in yet, but we do need to know what the plan is. And the county or city wants to know what the plan is. Like, how do you plan on having electricity, running water, and disposing of wastewater, which is the septic or sewer system? Site access, how are we going to get on there? And then, of course, the site plan and prep. So we'll start with important documents. We'll kind of go through some of these, then we'll stop because I see we already got some questions popping up. So that's great. Keep asking them because we're coming to a break here in just a second. But some of the important documents, your deed, warranty deed, general warranty deed, title insurance is going to be a really important one, or title policy if you have that. Your plat or survey. Survey is really the best. We do need a survey. Fences are rarely a good indication of where the property line actually is. Fences we have found to be the path of least resistance.
Yes. Yeah.
So we need an actual survey that's got the boundary, it's got the pins located, and we can help with that, of course. And then the deed restrictions, if there are any. If you're building in a deed restricted subdivision, even if you're out in the county, if there are some deed restrictions. And again, these are typically listed online. They're certainly recorded at the local county clerk's office. We can access these if you'll just tell us what subdivision you're in. We can help you through that at any of our design centers. Now, what in the world is a deed? So, put quite simply, it's proof of ownership. A deed is simply says that whoever is on the deed that's who has the legal rights to the property. Now, it may be it's the grantor, which is the seller, grantee, which is the buyer. So it lists who you bought it from and who they sold it to, which would be you, the new landowner. It's going to contain some type of description of that property, either lot and block, lot 47, block 3 of such and such estates, or it's going to be what's known as a meets and bounds, which we have an example of here in the bottom right-hand corner. It's a larger tracts typically are done in a meets and bounds, so it's a physical description of the property.
Okay.
Doesn't necessarily have the sales price. It usually says here in Texas, it usually says for $10 and other valuable consideration. Sometimes it'll be a gift deed from Meemaw and Pawpaw, and it'll say for love and affection or something like that. So those are kind of cute, but those are all real documents. So ones to watch out for: quitclaim deed. In some cases, a sheriff's deed. Those can be a little bit tricky with title, so we want to take a good close look at those. Obviously, it has to be notarized and must be recorded to be valid. We've actually seen some that have been signed 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they never got recorded. They just got signed. and put with the will paperwork. And I guess the attorney probably gave it to the family and said, okay, go record this. And life happened and away it went. So title insurance. Dawn, you want to talk about what title insurance or title policy actually does, what it's good for?
So a title insurance policy is just, it's really protection for you. So there may be situations happening with the property that the owner doesn't even necessarily know about. So claims on it that predate the current owner when they're selling it to you. And this just protects you in the future from anybody coming back later and saying, oh, wait, I had a lien on this property. You actually owe me money. So what happens with this is the title company is going to open up title and check it all out. They're going to do a thorough check and then give you this insurance policy that says, we've checked it out. There's no risk for you of any of these things happening. And if it does happen, we're the ones that are going to take care of it. No one else is going to be able to come in and take this property away from you or tell you you owe them additional money.
That's right. Yeah. So the title company will inspect every single link in the chain of title. Actually, all the way back in Texas, they can go all the way back to the Spanish land grants.
Oh, wow.
Which is interesting to read that sometimes because they're links that I've never seen before. So anyway, so it avoids any kind of disputes, disruptions, judgments. So, and then boundary survey, man, this is a really important one, folks. We want to sure we hit on this because this is how you make sure the house and everything on it's on your own property for one, but also a 1 acre tract. So this is approximately 1.155 acres. I guess it's more exact than approximate, isn't it? Anyway,
Close enough.
A little over an acre. But you can see that even though they own this whole triangular shaped piece of property, you've got these little dotted or dashed lines on the
It's a
interior.
whole lot of dotted lines.
Yeah. So some different things going on. We've got utility easements. So for instance, where they're running power lines or water lines or sewer lines, those are dotted through here, which means the subdivision, when they were developing it, when they got with whatever power supplier was going to be running power in the subdivision, they said, okay, you'll have 15 feet between each lot to run your easement, to run all your power lines and do all your work. So the land is still yours. You can still use the surface, but you can't build permanent structure on it. That goes for, there's an easement there. I see another utility easement running north to south right through here. This also has building lines on it, which is really important. So for instance, they have a 30-foot back building line, looks about like a 25-foot side building lines, and probably another 50-foot front building line. So again, you own and have access to all of this property and will pay taxes on all of this property.
Of course.
But you can't build permanent structure over these building lines. Now, not every piece of property has building lines. This is actually obviously in a recorded deed restricted subdivision, but it is over an acre. So you can see in permanent structure, I think the house, obviously, swimming pool, outbuildings, garage, barns, those kind of things, those could not. You can still run fence, typically. Driveway doesn't, like you can put driveway on top of easements and building lines. That's all understood. But permanent structure cannot be built over these. So really important to know if you're still shopping for land. I would request this as part of my offer. If you're going to make an offer on a piece of property, request that the seller provide a boundary survey.
Right.
But it has flood information on it typically. Any other comments about surveys, Dawn?
No, just important to make sure you have it so you know which part of the property you're able to use and put your home on.
For sure. So, and then finally, we'll talk a little bit about deed restrictions and covenants. So what are deed restrictions? They're the things that tell you kind of the minimums and maximums you can do on your piece of property. So you've got, obviously most places have a minimum square footage, 2,000 square foot minimum or 1,600 square foot minimum. They have a maximum height in a lot of cases, although not all. They'll usually have a masonry requirement. Not always anymore. A lot of people like the look of the board and bat hardy, which a lot of subdivisions are adapting, but some don't count that as masonry.
Yeah, they actually find what they'll allow as masonry.
Yeah. So we want to be sure that we're meeting, 60% masonry or 80% masonry or 100% masonry in some cases. If they have any kind of garage requirements, we have some places that they can't be a front load garage, right? It has to be a side load.
Or it has to be a minimum number of bays.
And they have maximum. Apparently, a lot of places don't want more than a 6-car garage.
Why?
I don't know. They get jealous of other people's toys, I suppose.
There you go. That's probably it.
And then, typically, any kind of requirements for construction. They typically have an ACC application, an Architectural Control Committee, that is a subcommittee of the Property Owners Association, through which we have to submit for approval. So not uncommon, and we can handle all this for you, but these are things that you need to be aware of. So let's pause here and talk about some questions, Dawn.
Okay, perfect. Like I said, for whatever reason, my system's not showing me, so I can read them directly off of Facebook and YouTube. So I'll get them as best as I can.
Okay.
Amelda over on Facebook is saying that she applied for construction loan this week. The bank told us that some companies take on the loan, and then once the home is finished, the loan is transferred over to us. How does our company work with the banks when it comes to financing?
Oh, it's very, very simple. So we don't do construction loans. You don't need one. And so you won't need any of that garbage with us. You don't need a construction loan. You don't need interim financing. You don't need a draw schedule. None of that. So what all of the way it works is you're going to get approved up front for the permanent loan. So if you're building a house for $330,000, let's say, you're going to get approved with a lender up front for that $330,000 loan. They're going to do an appraisal, make sure the house appraises out for that on your land. And then once they have that appraisal back and you've met all their underwriting requirements, they're going to want the W-2s and bank statements and tax returns, all that kind of stuff. Once they've got all that done and all underwritten, they will issue what's known as a commitment letter or takeout letter. And that's a letter saying, okay, at this snapshot in time, Bobby and Susie Smith were approved for $330,000 and the appraisal, and they're good to go. And based on that piece of paper, Tilson will build your home from 0 to 100% completely finished out of our own pocket. Mm-hmm. You will not have to make any, there's no interest accruing. You're not making any payments on a construction loan. There's not a draw that we have to go come out that you sign off and the bank signs off on, or any of that kind of stuff. And then you don't close on this home until the house is completely finished, and then you close and move in. So we don't take the land. You don't deed the land over to us and then deed it back. That's not how it works. So great question.
Great question. Matt is asking, how far from the home can we connect the electric, and how deep does the trench need to be?
Okay, so we can connect it almost as far as you want. I mean, we've run them 300, 500, 700 feet before. It's not common. Typically, it's 60 to 100 feet is what we typically see. But 50 feet, so it's what's typically included in the price of the home. It's technically 60, but 10 feet of that is going up the pole. So it depends if you're doing underground or overhead, that kind of. But anyway, that's how electrical is done, and it's typically 50 feet. And depth wise, I mean, here in Texas, you're probably looking at 18 to 24 inches deep. It doesn't have to be super, super deep.
Okay, great. Rebecca is asking if you can talk about replat assistance when multiple lots are owned and need to be joined together. They have separate surveys, but what do they need to do to get it combined into one parcel?
All right, so that's going to vary based on city to city, and in some cases county to county. They have their own sets of rules and requirements, so it's going to be very municipal specific. It's a great question, because it can take a very long time and it can be very expensive to replat. A lot of cities deliberately make it very difficult to do that. They don't want, in most cases, not all cases, broadly speaking, they want more houses in the city, not less houses.
It's more income.
It's a property tax revenue thing. So they make the replatting process very arduous and very expensive. And depending on where it is, it's usually 3 to 4 months long and costs anywhere from $5,000 on up to get that done. And now we can certainly help you get what the process looks like from the city. But as far as actually going through the replat process, that is something that definitely the landowner has to do. We're not allowed. The city will not let us go through that process, because we are not the owners of the land. So It's a great question.
Okay. Robbie is asking, after we sign the plans and the build begins, who is the person who looks out for us, our go-to person, if we have a problem or a question?
Great question. So we have all of our own builders. So they're our project managers. We call them builders. They are responsible for your home, and you have their direct contact information, cell phone. They drive around in Tilson trucks. So we pay for the truck. We pay for their gas. They have an iPad that's got everything on it. We pay for their cell phone. Like, they're a full-time Tilson employee, and they are running your job, and they are your point person. And actually, you're introduced to that person at the pre-construction meeting with your sales consultant. So, great question.
Nilda is asking if we build in shirts.
We actually do not build in the city limits of shirts, not at this time. It's one of those places that's made it very
not friendly for building one house at a time.
Yeah, it's not about us. They've made it very difficult for homeowners, for landowners, to build. Their rules and regs are set up for 30 to 300 lot subdivisions, and they put all those onerous requirements on, even if you're building on a 60 by 120 foot lot, and it's unpredictable and just unpleasant. It's not a good experience. So we're not putting customers through that deliberately.
Matt has a follow-up question on the electrical. For clarity, he's just curious how far we can run electrical from the house to the main lower transformer.
I mean, as long as we need to. It's going to depend on the size of. Now, at a certain point, you'll have to put another transformer in. I mean, you lose voltage as you're going. So most power companies are going to tell you exactly how far away you can be before they just let you run electrical, but forever. But it does, we can run it pretty long ways but it's a larger gauge wire that has to be used because you'll be losing so much of your amperage.
Okay. Carmel is asking when in the pre-build process does the drawing get sent to the HOA ACC for approval?
Typically after the customer signs them. So you do the initial agreement up front. You with red line changes with your sales consultant, your design consultant, and then those get sent to our design draft department, which is in-house. So we have our own designers and drafters. They draft the plans, and then the plans come back to the salesperson's office. You come in and you do a whole plan approval process. So you go through the floor plan, electrical plan, front, side, rear elevations, cabinet details, and then you sign those plans. And then once those plans are signed, then we can begin the ACC process, as long as we've been able to do a site evaluation with you. In other words, their lot does have to be cleared so that because the ACC does want the house drawn on the lot. They want to see where it's going to sit to make sure it's not encroaching on any building lines. So great question. So we can do it after you sign the plans, as long as we've gotten our site evaluation done.
Okay. Carrie kind of has a related question. She does not have an HOA, and her ACC, they have been unable to contact them. What do we need to do for building approval?
Well, that's a great question, and it does happen. Number one would be to find out if they still actually exist. We find a lot of cases that the POAs just kind of go away. No one, 15, 20, 30 years ago, people quit doing it. And so there are occasions where I have we have an affidavit that we have the homeowner sign called a no HOA. In other words, it doesn't exist. It's recorded that there is one, but it does not exist. And then basically the homeowner is then taking on full responsibility if they're building something that's outside of the bounds of the deed restrictions and covenants. But it's pretty rare we have to do that, but it does in fact happen.
Okay. Michael is asking when the digital rendering for the Abilene will be available. They're building the Abilene D with the alternate kitchen in Seguin, and they've just finished installing the OSB, and it's looking great. Well, Michael, thank you for choosing us. Yeah. I am hoping to have the Abilene renderings done by the end of this month. If you want to send me a message, I can send you where we are so far. It's not quite ready for everybody to see because I got to explain some stuff that's wrong with it. But send us a private message, and I can tell you what's different between the rendering and the real life thing.
Okay. Well, you want to do a couple more slides, folks, then come back and do questions? You want to do some more questions?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay. Are you able to get all the questions?
Yes, I can see them all. Just for whatever reason, I can't put them up on the screen. So,
so I cannot. So just make sure, because if you go away on my screen, they're gone forever.
All right.
All right, guys, keep asking the questions. We're going to keep answering them. We want to go through this. So in case there are people that do have time sensitive, we're going to roll through and they can move on about their day. We hope you all stay because we will answer these questions. Yes. And there may be one that pertains to you, so you may want to hang out.
We will answer them all. And even if we come back, we do come back after the live and look again through all the comments to see if there's something that we missed. We'll answer you via text if we missed you during the live show. So we do answer all of the questions.
We promise.
Yes.
Okay, utilities. What are we doing about power, water, septic, sewer? So I know those questions are stacking up. Maybe we may answer it as we go along.
Yeah.
Obviously, power. That's something that's going to be necessary, really, even to build, not only obviously to live in it. But we got to know who's providing that. So most of the places we build, it is a co-op or a cooperative. So most rural communities, you've got the Sam Houston Electric Co-op or the Pedernales Electric Co-op or the Grayson County Electric Co-op. So that's who is going to be. Or you have your big ones. If you're a little bit closer to a suburban area, maybe your CenterPoint or your TXU or Encore, somebody like that provides the power. So you'll meet a representative out there, and it could sometimes be before or after you meet with us. It's okay. We provide the temporary power, whether it's a pole or pedestal. We provide that, and then you connect obviously permanent power once the home is built and ready for it. Typically about 2/3 through construction or so, we connect permanent power to the home. And it can be either overhead or it can be underground. But the main thing is to meet with the provider out there, their representatives, so they can tell you, because it varies across the state, how many poles are included or what distance is included. Are you 50 feet from the road? Are you 5,000 feet from the road? And going back to the question we had earlier about how far can you run it, they have the calculations of coming from their substation, how does it need to be a 200 amp, a 320 amp, a 400 amp, and they can help you with that. So obviously, we want to have running water, Dawn. Can you tell us something about running water?
Kind of essential. So you need to determine if you're going to have public or community water available, or if you're going to be on a well. Most of our customers are on a well, but if there is public water available, you're going to be looking at things like a tap fee to connect into that water, as well as a meter fee to get your meter installed. If you are going to need to drill a well, you have the option there of drilling it just for your own home, or there's a possibility that you're going to be sharing with another home. So you'd be figuring that out.
There's in some cases, let's say it's family land, it's 10, 12 acres that mom and dad have. They're giving 2 of them over here to the kiddos, and they already have a well installed. They want to share their well. You want to first of all make sure it's large enough to support 2 homes from a pressure standpoint, and then most lenders are going to require some type of a shared well agreement, so that if you ever sold the home or something happened, that whoever bought it later would have access to water.
Right.
Turns out
I don't want you to take the water away later.
Turns out it's not a great place to live without water.
Yeah, it's not awesome. And
then sewer or septic system. So, the 91% of our customers are on a septic of some sort, either conventional, aerobic, drip irrigation, low dose, something. But basically, if you tap into community sewer, there is going to be some type of a tap fee that goes along with that. If there's not already a sewer tap there, in some cases in older subdivisions, there's already a sewer tap there ready to go. So, and then again, most of our customers are on septic. We can handle the septic system for you in most cases. So we can do the design, the permitting application, the permit itself, and then the actual installation. And of course, you're going to have a 2-year maintenance agreement on that. That's a state requirement. So, and then after that, you can choose to continue with that same maintenance provider or choose a new one. So that's that. Septic permit. Now, you can't just run wastewater onto the surface without permission, as it turns out.
You cannot. That's a good thing.
No, it is a good thing. It's a good thing. So obviously the design has to be done. That design is then submitted to whatever entity it is, typically a county. And almost always, although not 100% of the time, but most of the time, this is actually required to be done before they'll issue a building permit. Okay. So they won't allow you to apply for or issue a building permit until you've obtained a septic permit. And the reason is, again, they want to know that you have some type of a plan that's legal on how to deal with the wastewater. What are you doing if you take a shower or wash your clothes or flush a commode? Where's that water going? Mm-hmm. So because you got neighbors, and we all share the same resources. Anyways, usually 2 to 4 week process on the septic design. It doesn't have to be installed first. That's a question we get a lot. It does not have to be installed first. In fact, we kind of prefer that it not.
Yeah, we prefer it's not.
If it's already there, it's okay. But if it's not there yet, you don't have to. Typically, a good time is like kind of when the masonry is on the house, the brick or stone, or we're finished with the outside. But your building superintendent, your builder, will tell you when it's time to have it installed. Unless we're doing it, in which case you just have a lawn chair and iced tea and sit there and watch us put it in. You don't do anything. And then if you're going to have gas, some of our customers will have access to natural gas, which is great. It's cool. Others, if you don't, it's going to be, your options are basically go all electric on your home, which is no problem. We do that on most of our homes. Or you're going to have propane, LP, which is fine. And this is an example of an above ground tank. Your tank can be above ground. It can be below ground if you don't want to see the tank. So that's what you see being installed here is an in-ground tank. And then it has a little meter, just like a little gas meter and a fuel gauge, like your car. And you know when it's getting empty. Interesting about these is they'll typically only fill them up to 80%. So that's something to consider whenever you're thinking about size. So they'll only, for room for expansion in the tank, they don't want to put more than 80%. So if it's a 500-gallon tank, you're going to get the most you're going to put in there is 400 gallons.
That's good to know.
So it's something to consider. I would traditionally try to buy it in the summertime if you can. If you're really trying to pinch pennies,
yes.
Try not to buy gas
when it's cold.
Like when it's 42 degrees outside.
This is your supply and demand economics lesson for the day.
It is. There it is. No charge for that. No charge for that. All right. And then do you want to talk about site access? Because this is a really, really important one. Again, all of these things are things that Tilson can take care of. One thing we do not include already in the base is any kind of all-weather or site access. And the reason is we don't know how far we're going to have to go. We don't know what culvert size we're going to need because that's determined by either the county or the Texas Department of Transportation. There's just no way to know all that, not knowing where you're building exactly. So, but we do have to have a way to get trucks in and out. We can certainly get bids done once we have the stakeout completed. We can come out there and say, okay, we'll get bids, or you can get bids. However you want to do this, we can do it. But basically a culvert, which is the one you see on the right over here, it's simply a pipe that goes under, the ditch of the road, so water can still pass through once your driveway is in. So the county, that's why the county determines that, because they're ultimately responsible for flood control in the local areas. So they want to make sure that it's a large enough diameter that enough water can flow through and that it's at the right angle. So you don't do it the wrong way and you create a dam. This way you create a culvert. So anyway, that's something to consider and will have to be done before we can start construction. And again, we have no problem helping you guys with that if that's what you need. Shall we pause, Dawn, for questions and identification?
All right, sounds good. So let's see. Michael is asking, when it comes to easements and permits, are there additional charges for the homeowner, or are they included in the building price?
So for the permits themselves, they are included in our pricing. Our permits are included. The only thing that wouldn't be included would be like your sewer taps, water taps, like any kind of tap fees or impact fees. Those are not included. So if you see anywhere that says a tap fee or an impact fee, those are not going to be included in the price, but the price of the permit itself, yes, if we're taking care of it.
Okay. Eddie is asking about flood insurance. How far does the house need to be from the zone before needing flood insurance?
That is actually, so you can get flood insurance on anything.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you can get any kind of insurance on just about anything if you'll pay the money. So, but for flood insurance, that's definitely going to be up to your insurance provider as to what they're going to require. Certainly, if your property is, from what I understand, if any portion of your property lies within the floodplain, almost all insurance companies are going to require flood insurance. And that, I don't care if you're 500 feet away from where the floodplain actually is. If the floodplain crosses your property, most of them, again, not all, most of them are going to require flood insurance. So that's something to consider. And that, even for your own peace of mind, I mean, because the floodplain changes. It's not a fixed, it's fixed at a moment in time.
It's fixed on paper.
Yeah, FEMA reserves the right to change it whenever they want to. And that's who controls where the floodplain actually is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Is it an agency? Is it an agency?
Yes.
Okay. So they are the ones that determine where the floodplain is. And yeah, if any portion of your property is on there, you're probably going to have flood insurance. It may vary price-wise depending on how close you are to it or not. But in all cases, you're going to have to be at least a foot above base flood elevation or where that line is. In a lot of cases, we're seeing now 18 inches to 2 feet above base flood is what the counties are wanting. So great question.
Okay. Neil is asking if we have a list of water and septic contractors that have worked with Tilson in the area where he's building, which is Hood County, Granbury.
So the Weatherford office may
Weatherford.
very well have that, and if not, our site evaluation superintendent we can get that information and get it to you. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll check our Weatherford office though.
Eddie kind of has a clarification question on the 10% and being signed over. He's saying that the sales rep that he talked to explained that Tilson requires 10% of total value to be signed over to Tilson.
Okay, so there's a misunderstanding there. Either we didn't explain it well enough, which is what I'm going to go with. We're going to own this. But no, you don't have to sign it. So it's 10% equity in the total value of the land plus the home is what Tilson requires for our Easy Buy program, the no construction loan. So basically, if the house is $300,000 and the land is worth $100,000, that's a $400,000 total value. We would require that you have $40,000 paid into that land in some way. So you can still owe money on the land and roll that into your loan. But that's what that is. And so let's say that, well, I don't. I have $22,000 and it's not the 40. Well, then in that case, yes, maybe they were talking about you would have to put a down payment to make up that difference of the 10%. You have to put $18,000 down to get to that 10% if you were short of that 10%. That's the only thing I can think of that might. Hopefully that clears it up for you.
All right. Michael is saying usually mortgage pre-approvals are for a limited time. Does the Tilson loan process cover for the entire build time frame?
Great question. And you are absolutely right. Yes, it is for a limited time. And it says that on the commitment letter, and we know that. And this is part of the best part of going with Tilson is we do assume that risk, but it does have parameters in that approval that you have to meet, right? You can't go leverage a bunch of debt. Don't open new accounts. Don't charge things on your credit card. Don't go buy a car. Don't retire. Don't change jobs. There's a bunch of parameters in there that you are responsible for fulfilling to make sure that when the time comes that you can still close on that loan. So, but yeah, you're right. It's a limited time. So it's kind of a warm fuzzy that we have that at some point in time you could qualify for it. We go and build. That's why we have the 10% equity so that you have some skin in the game, so to speak. So that you would work very hard not to lose that approval.
Right. Makes sense. Charles is asking if we prefer that electrical and water be brought into 50 feet before construction. If the house is 1,000 feet from the street, is it better to do that before or after?
I'd say before. Yeah. If we had our druthers, that's a word. That's a Texas word. We had our druthers, we would have it there before. Yeah.
But it doesn't have to do the last 50 feet. All right. Amanda's asking if we recommend waiting on having utilities installed until after the site visit to ensure optimum placement.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I do.
Excellent. Johnny is asking if a pool can be included in the loan or is that a separate process?
It's typically a separate process. If you have a really high enough appraisal that it will fit in, then yes, you can put the pool loan in there. We do want to vet that contractor. We want to see how they're going to want to get paid because sometimes they want to get paid a different way than we're getting paid. Almost no pool builder is going to wait till the end to get paid. So we're going to see what kind of draw schedule they're going to want and make sure that's something that we're going to be able to satisfy on your behalf. So great question though.
Carol is asking about credit score. What is the credit score to get started?
What have you been seeing? Like 680 is what we've been seeing?
Yes. Yeah. Our preferred lenders are asking for around a 680 right now. Yeah. Raul is asking if we build in Highlands, Texas.
We do. Yep. Old Crosby area over there, East Harris County. Absolutely. As long as it's outside the city limits of Houston. Yes. Which Highlands is.
Wonderful. Brittany is asking, how does the utility usage work during construction? Do the contractors use generators or connect to our utilities? If they connect to ours, do we pay for the usage? So yeah, you're gonna pay, but honestly, you're gonna have to pay a minimum amount every month, typically. In other words, just to have the meter there, it's usually $35 or $50 a month or something like that. We won't use that much power. Yeah. We're not turning on an air conditioning, which tends to be the highest. Yeah, we're not heating or cooling anything. We're running a couple of compressors and saws, and you'd be shocked at how little electricity is used. I don't know of any right now, as a matter of fact, that it costs them over what the minimum just to have the meter in place goes for. So, no, we don't work off generator. That would be an additional cost. Okay. Beth is saying she's building in Montgomery and will be using her own flooring company. Will they be able to use the electricity or do they need to bring their own generator? So first of all,
Go Bears. I hope it's not Lake Creek. Sorry, I wasn't around when I went to, but I went to Montgomery. So a product of the system, just full disclosure. And the answer is yeah. No, if you've arranged that where you're having a flooring company do that, then yeah, of course they're going to be able to use the utilities that are there in place. Yeah, they can plug right in to. In fact, by then, typically the house is the permanent power is in, and if not, the temporary power is right outside the door or the window. But ready to go.
Okay. Jen and Ray have some advice for everybody when they get to their site clearing. She's saying, do yourself a favor and make sure you find out if you need a tree permit before you clear land for stakeout. They were not aware of one in their area, and it's caused delays, fines, and just lots of frustration and headaches. So sorry to hear that.
Yeah, she's right, though. That's we add that to our seminar. Thank you.
We do. Yes.
Some of these cities and even some counties have some serious tree ordinances. So just kind of, you can Google wherever you're building, you can just search tree ordinance, XYZ Texas, and see if there is one. And because you take that a Heritage Oak or something like that, and they are very unforgiving.
Yes. Ray is asking, what are the legal procedures if after Tilson builds the house and we have a major disagreement about the final product, courts, arbitration, etc.?
Arbitration is in there, but it's pretty rare. Actually, it's very rare that ever happens to that degree. It's usually something that's on the punch list or something that's brought up along the way.
Says he's sorry to ask. He's had vehicle issues in the past. So
don't be sorry to ask. That's what this is for.
Yes.
So he's specifically not asking about us, just so we're clear. Yeah. But the answer to the question is, we decide up front. The homeowner and Tilson, we agree up front that we're going to go to our mediation or arbitration. And again, and that's not just for that. I mean, that could be for even a warranty dispute that comes up after the fact. So that's all laid out in the agreement up front. So before you ever even give us the $1,500 deposit, how that's going to be settled out. And then, but typically, and it's a great question because it's why it's so important that you be involved along the way, and why we do these videos. That's why we love having our customers so involved. Yeah, so that if you see something going on, say something. As well, if you see something, say something. Because we do want you happy. We want it to be a great experience for you. And so that's usually with us why it doesn't ever get to that stage, is because they, I don't think that's where the posts are going to be. That's not where we're on the plan. That wasn't what I expected. Okay, well, let's stop, time out. Let's get with the sales consultant. Let's get with design and drafting. Let's see what's going on. So
let's talk about it before we finish the house so that it doesn't you're not unhappy at the end. Like, let's get it all settled while this is going on. Debbie is asking, does septic and water well drilling need to be installed before construction begins? So I know we said septic. We actually prefer if you can wait.
No, water well typically yes, although it's not necessarily have to be there. We don't need water to do the foundation or the framing, really. But much after that, once we start getting into sheetrocking, masonry, we have to have water. So great question.
Okay. Carmela is asking what happened to the Hillsborough, and really what happened is it just wasn't one of our more popular plans. So we've introduced some things to replace it, and we're working on some other ones. So it's just something we've decided to pull. But if you're absolutely in love with it, your sales consultant can definitely get you a price to do it. It's just one we're not going to show pricing on anymore.
Yep.
Awesome. Myrna is asking, can we build a home with more affordable materials, home furnishings, rather than what the builder suggests? She's trying to build in McKinney, but save overall construction cost.
So no, we don't allow owner furnished items. So we're going to be selecting from things that are in our design center, or at least from our vendors. So even if you don't see it in our design center, it doesn't mean we can't get it, but we do need it to come from one of our vendors so that we can control, the process. It's what our trades are used to working with. They're used to our process. And
we don't want to put you in the middle if there's missing parts. Did you open the box and the parts are missing? Like, we don't want you to have to be the middleman in all of that. If there's something wrong.
Point. That's a great point, Don. Yep. Thank you.
Awesome. Robert is asking if we build in Rusk County, approximately 20 miles southwest of Henderson.
I do believe that is one of the ones that we build in, but we can double check on that real quick. Actually, I'm on the website right now.
Oh, it looks like Kelsey got in there. We do not now have Rusk on the map, so not at the moment.
Not at the moment. Henderson, yes, but Rusk, no.
Okay. Janet is asking, if I have an electrical line and easement that runs through my property, can I run septic or well underground lines in that easement?
Repeat that question one more time.
She's an So the power company has an easement that runs through her property. Can she put her septic or well lines within that easement? Or would that be considered a permanent?
Typically, yes. Typically, I want to go read the easement itself, because the Schedule B of your title commitment, or even the easement that's recorded itself, will have what you can and can't do on there. But I haven't seen anywhere you can't run lines across there. Obviously, you don't want to hit their line, but that's typically overhead. But yeah, going underneath there, I mean, road, gate, that kind of stuff, you can run across that easement.
Okay. I'm going to say, let's go ahead and go on with the presentation just for time. I know we still have a lot of questions.
I love it.
We'll answer them all, but let's get through the presentation.
All right. So site planning and preparation is what we're on now. So getting out to the site evaluation, what we refer to as the stakeout or site evaluation. We're going to put a site plan out there. We're going to meet you out there, of course, and help you place the home on the property. Now, it's ultimately up to you where it goes, but obviously we're going to have input and questions. Obviously, what are you trying to accomplish? Is this what you want to see? Here's what your back porch is going to be looking at. Is this what you had envisioned? Here's where your front door is going to be. Is this what you want to look at? So, and then of course, as a result of that meeting, any kind of site preparation things that need to be done, we'll have a list of that, of what we're going to do, what we need you to take care of, and go from there. So you're going to meet, of course, a TILSA representative out there. We're going to help you with the best placement, determine any kind of additional needs. Is the site out of level? Does it need to be cleared? Is this tree okay? Is it too close? Mm-hmm. How are we going to access the site? And then we do the measurements at this time. If we can, if the transformers are there, we'll do the measurements for electrical and water hookups. And of course, everybody leaves the meeting with a to-do list of sorts. And so I think now, as starting either this week or next, we're actually just taking a picture of that and sending it to the customer. So they, no one does paper anymore. So
wow.
I know. All these new fandangled electronic devices. So
that's great.
And then as a result of if you are in an ACC, an Architecture Control Committee type of subdivision, then we'll produce a site plan from that stakeout meeting. Not every single customer needs to do one of these. So if we don't have to do one of these, we won't, because it'll save time. But where we do, we'll put, where the building lines are, where the setback lines are. They want to see how many feet off of each sideline you are. They want to know where the proposed driveway is going, what size culvert, where it's going. So whatever needs to be done, we'll put it on there with a list of items that come from your subdivision. And then we're going to clear some land, or you're going to clear some land. Somebody's going to clear land.
Absolutely. So we gotta get rid of everything that we need to move before we can build the house. So this is, tree stump and root removal. Obviously we want to, like, as was mentioned before, make sure that you're allowed to take out the trees, or what you need to do if there's a tree that's got to go. How do you replace it? And we want to preserve as many trees as possible. So we're going to guide you through that during your site evaluation meeting of which trees we feel need to be removed, because we know you bought this property because you loved the trees and everything that was on it. So we want to make sure we keep those in place when we can, but we've got to make sure that we're not jeopardizing the foundation or the health of the remaining trees, because it really is sad if you build it and then the tree dies because then you disturb the roots, putting in the foundation. So.
Great feedback. I even wrote down tree ordinances. So
tree ordinance, yes, absolutely. And it's more expensive to take a tree out once you've built a house. So we want to make sure we've identified all those issues ahead of time.
And then any kind of groundwork or site work needs to be done. Now, our specifications, Texas is a big state. So what's included varies from county to county. In some places it's 12 inches, some places it's 14, some cases it's 24, some cases it's 30 inches. It just depends on where you're actually building as to what's included. So we don't get too deep into that on this presentation, but suffice to say that a certain amount of foundation prep and site prep and dirt work, pad work is included depending on where you're building. And then obviously we want to make sure that we establish positive drainage and show you how we're going to do that, and then show you how to maintain that after we're done. We don't want you to do something down the road that's going to cause water to stand against the home on one side that could cause permanent foundation damage. So now we actually get to do something fun, which is build the house. So all this other stuff. And a lot of people ask, my gosh, what takes so long, Don? Why does this take so long to do this? When you went into a subdivision and bought a home, these other 25 slides we just went through,
they did this all for you.
It was all done before you ever walked in the door. But when it's your land, None of it was done. It's a virgin piece of property. It's never been touched. It's never had anything on it. So all of that development has to be done prior to being able to start construction. And then you're looking at about 7 months or so of actual construction. Once we have all the permits, everything's good to go, then we can actually start building. And that's what happens here.
Yes, that's fun. So this is just sort of a summary of everything that we talked about, just in case you joined us late and maybe missed it. If you want to rewatch it later, we talked about all the important documents that you're going to need, how to hook up your utilities, what we need as far as site access, and then the site planning and preparation.
Beautiful. And now, bring on the questions.
Now, Question Palooza.
So first of all, thanks everybody for watching this. Thank you for asking the questions. We're going to go. We're going to ask questions.
Here we go. All right. Raul, he's asking, he says his land is in Liberty County, Highlands, Texas, between Crosby and Baytown. Are we able to build there? I'm guessing is the question.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Ray is asking if we build in Hutto, Texas, Williamson County.
Sure do. Got an office in Georgetown. Love to help you out.
Perfect. Donna is asking who works with the utility company, the builder or the homeowner?
Depends on the utility company. In most cases, it does have to be the landowner, which is the homeowner. So in most cases, the utility company wants to deal directly with who owns the property, who owns the dirt. They will not deal with the builder.
Person who's going to be responsible for paying the bill forever.
That's right.
Ray is asking if we do spray foam insulation.
We do spray foam insulation. It's included in all of our homes in Climate Zone 3, which are kind of to the north and the west. And then in Climate Zone 2, it's a very, very affordable option.
Okay. Carrie is asking at what part of the process is the building superintendent assigned?
Basically right whenever when we get all the permits in place and the foundation is back, typically pretty close to that point in time is when we assign the building superintendent, and then they meet you at the site right after we're done with everything on this upfront development stuff and are ready to start construction. The salesperson and the builder meet you on a pre-construction meeting.
Great. Christopher is asking if we would be able to get the septic permit for him, not just take care of installation, but actually go through the permitting process.
So if we're doing the installation, it's a great question. We are going to take care of the permit for sure. It's a package deal. It's a one-stop shop. If we're doing the septic installation, we're going to get the permit. So yeah.
Okay. Jana was asking when we were talking about floodplain and whether or not you had to have flood insurance, were you referencing the 100-year or the 500-year plain?
I was referencing the 100-year floodplain, but there are some counties that have the same requirements for the 500-year or similar requirements. But I was referencing specifically the 100-year.
Okay. Pauline is saying that she's thinking of doing a home with a basement. What would the prep be for that?
We don't do basements.
There you go.
So very little prep.
So the prep would be, we're sorry, you're going to have to find somebody else if that's what you want to do.
I mean, I don't, depending on where you're building, again, this is about whether you're building with us or building with someone else, but depending on where there are so few contractors that know what they're doing to build a basement. And I don't mean the actual basement contractors themselves necessarily, although I'd want to see their book of business, but it's the contractors that follow them. How's the waterproofing done? Because we just have really high water tables here in Texas, by and large, again, not everywhere. And then do the plumbers, electricians, HVAC contractors, do all of them know how to work in and with and around a basement? Because most of them in Texas do not.
Okay. Jim is asking about solar options.
We don't really have a whole lot of demand for solar with us, but I mean, that's something that's very easily done after the fact. I mean, I even see production subdivision homes that have them, that whatever faces to the south or to the southwest, I see solar panels on them. So it's a pretty easy option down the road.
Jen and Ray were just letting us know it took 2 months to get their electric company to install their transformer. Today, the electrician put in their meter loop. So we're good to go. Finally, some progress. And they are actually building a Hillsborough in Bexar County.
Wonderful. Yeah, sometimes they're 6 to 8 weeks out or more on getting power in.
Carrie's asking if the site evaluation is the same as the stakeout meeting. Yes, it is. We're just trying to use terms that more people understand. We found a lot of other people in the industry use site evaluation. So we're
rebranding stakeout. And we're not going
to but we'll use both terms because we've been around forever. So we tend to, rebranding doesn't always stick. Let's see. Brent is asking if we build in Hill County outside the city limits.
We do. You're just a hop, skip, and a jump from Waxahachie.
Perfect. Jesse is asking, once Tilson breaks ground, how long is the building process?
It averages about 7 months. But we have some that are done as quick as 6 months, some that take as long as 8 to 10, depending on the size of the project and where it's being built. I mean, if it's in a city, sometimes it takes a little longer. You have more free, and only because you have more stops, stop points in cities.
And then Rebecca makes a good point that there are even some HOAs that require approval to start underbrushing or doing your tree removal. So it's not just your city that wants a say on what trees you're taking out, but sometimes the neighborhood itself wants some input.
Yep.
Robert is saying that it looks to him like our consumer ratings and reviews do not appear to be very good as long as we've been around. Why do your reviews seem so negative? So Robert, I'm going to ask where you're looking. The issue with online reviews, particularly your Googles and your, all the other ones that you have, they tend to be unhappy people. Tend to go to Yelp, tend to go to Google, and there's no requirement that you're actually a customer. So there's no proof that this was actually a customer interaction. So you can go right now to any business that has a Google map and hit a 1 star, and that stays forever. There's no way for the business to get that removed. Yeah. We do supply on our website. We have a third-party company that we work with called Avid Ratings, and those are ratings from our actual customers who are proven to be our customers. There's no filtering on those. So you can see that location by location on our website and actually read through the commentary from our customers. Brent is asking, what is step 1 if he wants to get working with us?
Step 1 is set an appointment with local design center and come in and tell us show us what you got. Bring in any kind of information you have about your land, survey, deed, any kind of deed restrictions, and kind of what you have in mind design wise or budget. Or if you looked at any plans online, bring that in there with you.
Perfect. Susan is asking if we want to choose our own upgrades, flooring, lighting, etc. Can we do that without change orders and receive a credit, or will we receive a cost?
So actually, we don't allow customers to install their own light fixtures and plumbing fixtures. So that's going to be something you choose from either our selection or give us an idea of what you're looking for, and help. We can find probably something in their portfolio that's going to be very, very close.
Okay. Greg is asking if we have a problem with an independent engineer inspecting the home during and after construction. Actually, we bring our own. So no problem at all. We do have third-party inspections at every major stage of our home. Your foundation is specifically engineer designed, site specific for your location, and they are there inspecting the form setup and the pour and making sure that everything's good. But yeah, absolutely. If you want to bring in your own, please do so.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to bring out your friend, because we're not getting questions on who's crying in the background. So you're going to introduce him to the newest member of the day.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry guys. I work from home, and my husband and daughter have left, and the puppy is very upset that he is locked out.
Is he there with you?
No, this is the older dog, the little puppy. We just got a new puppy too, but the 2-year-old dog is outside my door. I guess I can go get him if you want.
Go get that.
All right, I'll go get him.
See, now you're getting. And yes, we do build Henderson County.
You can answer Brittany's question about who do we use for inspections of the home throughout the build.
Great question. So a lot of the ones that do ours, MLAW does a lot of our inspections, but there's various companies around the state of Texas that do the third-party inspections. And for us, because we cover such a large area. Oh, there we go. There's Disco.
Okay, everybody, this is Disco Dantzler. He officially has the best dog name in the world. You cannot beat Disco Dantzler for a dog name. Sorry.
And now he gets a Tilson Famous t-shirt.
Yes.
So
I know we're very boring, aren't we?
Awesome. So
sorry about that, guys.
No, it varies. So the inspectors, they vary from place to place, but it is in fact third party. In other words, we don't get to pick who it is. We don't pick. All we tell them is it's ready to go inspect, and then they do flag us. They'll red tag things that are not done, which is what it's all about. I mean, we know we're human beings, and so we're not trying to pull any punch. Even though it's not required in the areas where we build, we still do a third-party inspection. But the answer to the question is no. We do not have a problem with you having an inspector done. Just know that sometimes code is open to interpretation. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between I don't usually see it done this way, or I don't like the way this was done, versus this is against code. So just be open to interpretation.
Yes, and we have Dave Yelovic on staff who will debate code with anybody for the best of them. He reads them cover to cover, so we've got it.
It's a good time.
Harry is asking if utility and access roads can be put into the mortgage loan.
Yes, they can. They absolutely can.
Angel is asking a question about stained concrete flooring for the Gonzalez, approximately 2,000 square feet. Do you have a ballpark cost on that, or would we need to talk to a design consultant?
We've got to get to a design consultant. Yeah, sorry, man. I don't have that stuff up for today's presentation. I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared for that. That's on me.
Jim is asking if the house pad is included.
So it depends on where you're building. In some counties, yes, our pad is included, and then in some places it's not necessary or not very normal to do a pad. So in those areas, we would obviously not include one in the base price because we wouldn't want to burden you with something that you don't necessarily need. So depending on where you're building, yes, in all cases, up to a certain amount of drop or out of level or site prep is included in all of our base prices. So it's very, very county specific. So you want to get with your design center and find out exactly where.
Okay. Stephen is asking, are there different types of foundation builds? For example, he's told that his area requires a Gulf Coast foundation build.
Well, so if that's us calling it that, that's typically going to be just a slab on grade. So we build to the attic level, which is a little bit complicated to understand, but basically we wouldn't do a pad in that situation. If your property dropped, a foot from the back of the house to the front of the house, it would be a foot high at the back of the house at the high point, and it would be about 1.5 or 2 feet high at the front of the house. But in all cases, we're going to be almost all cases, we're going to be doing a post-tension foundation system. And we've got a lot of videos on that you can check out.
Okay, great. Johnny says that his land is on a steep grade. Is it possible to have a site check to get the thumbs up that we're able to build the home they want before signing their contract?
Man, it's possible, but it's gonna be a little bit. Our site evaluators are very, very busy with our customers that are on contract. And of course, we're obligated to them first. But I mean, there's a chance that you could set up with your local design center and potentially get that done. So,
okay. Stephen clarifying his comment, what he meant by a Gulf Coast foundation was requiring extra soil and cement. So I think you kind of covered that. Charles is asking if you get bids for the site access road, is that outside the cost of the home? Is that done before everything is signed and agreed upon, or is it added into the cost of the home and paid separately?
So it's not really going to be done before everything's signed because we don't, unless you know exactly how much you need, in which case we could include it then. But traditionally that's going to be done after the site evaluation or after the stakeout. Then we would calculate that amount, and either you could include it or you could pay it. You can include it in the loan or you can pay it out of pocket. It's totally up to you.
Okay. Detrone just wants to give so much love to Darlin, our Weatherford office. He just signed with us this week. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Congratulations.
Mark is asking if our financing program works with retirees.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no, so it's illegal to discriminate based on age. So mortgage companies can't do that. So it doesn't matter if you're a retiree or not. What will matter is, do you have the income to make the loan? That is the only thing that they're really concerned about. That, and of course, your well-being. But they do want to make sure that you're going to be able to financially meet the obligation. That's really all. So if you have a retirement income, if you have a 401k or an IRA that you or some kind of a brokerage account that you collect income from, whether that's dividends or however, that between you and the lender, y'all would figure out how you're going to meet that debt obligation month to month. And as long as you can meet that, you can be 90 years old and sign a 30-year loan. Like, they can't tell you no.
Perfect. Michael is asking, all things considered, what is the typical build time starting from land clearing to passing the key?
Well, so actual construction is about 7 months, like we said. Land clearing typically comes in actually before that, probably 2 months or so before that in some cases. So the total time, guys, is it's typically 10 to 12 months. We've been telling people because there's some massive.
2020 was weird, in case y'all didn't notice.
Yeah, 2020 was sporty.
2021's not starting any better.
Yeah, and with all the refinances that are still being done, and new and house resales that are being done, and new construction homes are being bought, your appraisers, your surveyors, your title companies, all those are backed up. So we're telling people 12 to 14 months total time from when you give us your initial deposit till we give you the keys. We're still hitting some in 10 months, and that's great. But I don't want to tell you guys that and not be able to meet that for you. Prepare for 12 to 14 months. And if we get it done faster,
Yay.
tell everybody how great we are.
Absolutely. Hugh is asking if Tilson will build customers' own plan, or does it have to be a Tilson plan?
Bring us the plan. Let's take a look at it. If it's something that's in our wheelhouse, we'll certainly price it out for you, and we'll tell you up front if it's not something in our wheelhouse. So.
Great. Eddie is asking, is metal roof an option as opposed to shingles?
Yes, it is.
Great.
But do it for the right reason. It's not going to last any longer, and you're not going to get any longer. Pretty. Yeah, do it for the aesthetics.
That's the end of the advantage. It's pretty.
Yeah, it does not last longer. It does not withstand hail any better than the shingles that we use standard.
Michael is asking if you have any familiarity with the commons of Lake Houston in Huffman, Texas. That's where they're looking for land.
We do, and most of that is technically considered the city of Houston, so shop wisely. Just check, and you can check the tax rolls based on the address or on the tax ID of the property and find out for sure if the city of Houston is one of the taxing entities on that or not. But almost all of, certainly everything waterfront is city of Houston. Shocker, high tax dollars.
Yeah,
but most of the commons, and we have built in there. We don't currently build in the city of Houston, but we have built in the commons on Lake Houston significantly.
Okay. Morty is asking if the zip sheathing is a must for him. Is that something that we could accommodate? And if so, what would the ballpark price difference be?
I don't have a ballpark price for you because we hadn't done it in quite a long time. We tried it a couple of times and didn't have a great experience. But yeah, if it's a done deal for you, we'll get a price from our framer, our supplier and our framer to do it, and we'll see if we can make it happen.
Okay. Ephraim is asking, do we have to first have bank pre-approval for financing before we can schedule a site evaluation?
You certainly at least be pre-approved, yes. You don't necessarily have to have the final loan commitment done, no. But you do need to have a pre-approval.
Okay. We have a question. Do buyers have to pay more taxes if they buy a new home instead of a resale home?
Not necessarily. So yeah, it's property taxes, so it's based on assessed value. So you can have an existing home that actually is appraises for a higher amount than maybe the new home costs. So that's totally up to the county. It will have nothing to do with whether you build new or buy existing. Great question, though.
Okay. Ephraim had a follow-up question. Is there a way that we can give him a site plan and come visit? Could he pay us a fee and have us do it?
Unfortunately, no. We don't have I mean, look, the land's going to be what it's going to be. It's not going to change based on before or after you give us a $1,500 deposit. It's going to be the same regardless of what builder goes out and builds. Your land is not changing. If it's land, I can think of one time in the last probably 2,000 houses that we actually had to go tell a customer, hey, we can't build on this piece of property. Mm-hmm. I cannot recall another time. I mean, and even if you're like, okay, well, I can, but how much is it going to cost? Nobody's going to be able to answer that question until you have your site evaluation completely done, a soil investigation done, right, and an engineer foundation design in hand. And that's what the $1,500 pays for anyway. So, it's really, to get the right answer, it's going to cost the $1,500 deposit to get it done right.
I would say anybody who's giving you that answer before they've done those things that Eric just listed, they're guessing.
Yeah.
It's still not a guarantee that that's how much it's gonna cost. So you're better off having those things done and going ahead and paying us to do them. Lorenzi is asking, when can I start bringing in dirt for the house pad? The city is requiring 2 feet, but I want 3. Should I have Tilson come out first, or will I have to do paperwork before Tilson can come out and do an evaluation?
Well, you'd be under contract for us to come out and do an evaluation. I would not bring
don't bring in dirt
full of dirt out there. 2 things, really. First, until we visit the site with you, mm-hmm, or whoever your builder is going to be visit the site with you. Don't spend $1 on dirt. And then the other thing would be, if it's possible, to wait until the city approves whatever, at least kind of preliminary permit or the full permit itself. I wouldn't bring out any dirt until I had full approval from the city. Because they may say 2, you want 3, you bring out 3 feet, and they say, oh, well, now you've brought out too much, and now you need to do detention over here because of all the water you just displaced. Mm-hmm. We don't want to mess around with something like that. So we want to be clear to the city. and to you and to whoever your builder is going to be, like exactly what you're going to be doing. And I wouldn't spend $1 on dirt until you had your builder come out there and get approval from the city.
Makes sense. Charles is asking, how do you appraise the value of the land? If we improve the land by building a road or bringing in utilities, how does that get calculated as far as equity into the land?
It gets calculated as equity. So the appraisal itself, the actual official appraisal, is done by whatever lender that you choose. They order the appraisal from a licensed Texas real estate licensed appraiser. And then, Tilson does in our equity calculation that we want. We do give you the equity for those types of things. So if you spent, $5,000 on a driveway, if you spent, $8,000 on a septic system, that counts as equity as far as we're concerned, towards that 10%.
Okay, great. So he's got some follow-up questions. You answered on the 10% equity. He's asking if it's best to make improvements after site evaluation, or if we wait until build agreements are in place, will be factored into the equity.
Yeah, no, you can wait till after site evaluation, but.
Okay. Juan is asking, what are the models in Bernie? I can only find 2, but I remember seeing a 3rd one when I was there 5 years ago, but I can't remember the name of it. So it's the Wimberley and the Frio are the models at Bernie. You are correct. There was a 3rd one, but it is no longer a home that we offer out there. So it's the Wimberley and the Frio. Amanda says our build site will be approximately 1,000 feet from where we are tapping city water. Will a 2-inch line from meter to home site be sufficient size? It's relatively level ground.
Yes, it's plenty.
Okay. Mark is asking, is it better to work with my nearest design center, which is Katy, or the one nearest to my property, which is located in New Braunfels?
What say you, Dawn?
So Mark, it's whichever one is going to be most convenient for you. So whichever location you decide, all of our locations can sign a contract with you to build a home in any of the places that we build. So there's not going to be any price difference or anything like that. So it really comes down to which location is most convenient to you, for you, because that's whoever you're working with, that's also where you're going to go for plan approvals and to pick out all of your options, your colors, all of that kind of stuff is all going to be done out of the office that you're working with. So if it is more convenient for you to work with the Katy location for all of those steps, then work with them. If you want to head up to San Marcos or Bernie to build out a New Braunfels, you can do that as well. It's really up to you and who you like best.
That's right.
It's really what it comes down to. Michael is asking to follow up on his question about non-Tilson plans. Do we still offer the easy buy financing if we're not building a Tilson home? Absolutely.
We do.
Absolutely. Michael also is asking, what's the point of the soil testing and evaluation?
I saw another question. So what are you looking for? So we want to know what type of soil we're building on. I mean, soils in Texas react very differently from place to place to moisture and lack of moisture. So
even place to place within your own property.
In your own land, yeah. So I mean, soil moves. It can move laterally. It can move horizontally. So it's got potential vertical rise. You've got shrinkage. You've got expansion. You've got high viscosity. You've got all kinds of things that we're looking for to see exactly how we want to design the foundation, how deep the beams need to be, how wide the beams need to be, what the cable spacing needs to be. So that's a great question. But yeah, I mean, if you got people going out there these days that aren't doing an engineered foundation design based on a geotechnical investigation, you need to run
the footprint of the home that you're building, not at the front.
Great point.
Have questions for them. Dominica is asking, can we add a foot or 2 to the bedroom 1 and 2 if we want them a little bigger? Absolutely. We can make whatever changes you like. Donna is asking if we can pour the driveway.
We can. Yep. Yeah. It's not going to be included in the base price, but we absolutely can pour it. It'll be done real close to the end of the project.
Okay. Matt is curious about the average time frame from soil sample to foundation work.
That depends because it depends on what has to be done after the soil analysis. But I mean, typically you're as soon as 60 days. It could be longer if there's a city involved or something like that, or an HOA that wants to see a site plan. That could take a little longer. But typically, once you get the soil test done, you're within 45 to 60 days, potentially, depending on.
Because they use the results of that soil test to design your foundation. So the soil test goes to the engineer, so the engineer can design the foundation, and then we get all the approvals. So it's really just depending upon what they're recommending that we do. Jen and Ray are saying that at their stakeout, the need for a culvert was not brought up. Would they have been told at that time if they needed one?
Typically, yes. Yeah, there are some roads that are just flat access right from the county road or the TxDOT road. So you don't have to have a culvert in 100% of situations. Great question. Thanks for asking and pointing that out.
Yeah. Kathy is saying that they have 20 acres, but plan on only using 2 to 2.5 acres for the home. Does the formula for determining the down payment work based on the whole 20 acres or just the 2 to 2.5 acres they want to use for their homestead?
Yeah, it'd be whatever you're planning to put up as collateral. So if you're only putting up the 2 to 2.5 acres with the lender, that's what will be calculated as part of the 10%. So
Okay.
if we pretend like the other 18 doesn't even exist.
Great. Christopher's asking, as far as site access goes, how much weight does the culvert need to sustain during building?
80,000 pounds.
Okay. Carmel is asking if after the stakeout meeting, can Tilson prepare the land? Can we take care of clearing the trees and leveling?
Yes, we can get you bids and you give us the go ahead and we absolutely will take care of it.
Great. Debbie's curious if we could pour an extra pad for a shop to be finished at a different time.
We have done that. Yeah, haven't done a whole lot, but we've done uncovered concrete, just poured it out there.
Okay. Pastor Tina is asking if there's a Shiloh built that they can view in Texas. There unfortunately is not. We had a model back in the day in our downtown Houston, well, not downtown, but our more Houston location. It eventually became downtown after we built it, but we do not have a Shiloh model at this time, but you can see lots of pictures and such on our website. Keith is asking if he'll get a copy of the signed plans.
Oh, yeah. Actually, you get a copy of that, and you get a copy of the final plans as the house goes to construction.
Okay.
We have the whole package for you. It's got a key and all kinds of cool stuff.
Cool. Carrie is just sharing that she is a second-time builder, and can tell you she would not consider building again if Tilson didn't do such a good job in the home that she's lived in for 25 years. So
wow.
there's a real review for you.
Yeah, a real review.
And let's see. Okay, Robert was the one that asked about reviews before. He's been looking on Google and Yelp. And also, we're not a member of the Better Business Bureau. That's a whole, I can explain that to you over private message later why we don't do that. But he's going to go look out. Yeah, they're kind of, I didn't want to use that word, but you kind of bribe your way into a good review on the Better Business Bureau. Read their stuff.
Yeah.
And I
if you want to
see
be A+ rated, you just give a bunch of money.
I'm finally at the point where I see everybody asking about disco. Sorry. Jim just wanted to let us know that he's looked at multiple builders and Tilson has been the most responsive and offered the most advice. Thank you, Jim. That's what we're here for. That's our goal. Wendy is asking about Henderson County, south of Athens, Texas.
Yes, we do Henderson County.
Lots of questions about Disco. Disco is a fancy mutt. He is a King Cavalier Spaniel mixed with a Bichon Frise. They call it a Cavachon because we have to mush words together. So that's what he is. Denise works from home and her cat my cat is frequently in our team meetings as well.
Yes.
Brenda says she's in the middle of building with Tilson, has had a wonderful experience, did a ton of research before building. Thank you, Brenda. Carrie has a beagle who likes to be in her videos too.
Nobody asked about my pets.
Nobody's asking about your animals.
Strange enough. They're very
I think
quiet.
everybody would leave if they started moving.
Very quiet. Very quiet.
If Eric's animals start crying, everybody we're done. 2021's over. Just everybody's done. Pastor Tina's asking, is it best to stick to a gravel road first before building, just in case trucks come and may damage her asphalt driveway?
Yes.
100%, absolutely. We do not want you to put in your fancy permanent driveway because trucks are heavy and they may leak. And so, yeah, that's why we were saying kind of don't do your final structure until we finish delivering all the heavy stuff. Dominica is asking, how much does it cost to put an extra fireplace outside on the patio?
Depends on where you're building. I don't have that. Again, I don't have that pricing pulled up. It's somewhere close to probably the $7,000 range or so. And it does have to be a stainless steel unit. It does cost a little more than an inside unit because it is stainless steel.
Okay. Kim is sharing they are building the Fayetteville. It is almost dried in, looking great. And Zach has been awesome. Thanks so
Cool.
much for
Thank
sharing.
you.
That's great. Elena is saying, I know you have a model home in Texas Grand Ranch, and she has the inside track. She wants to know if we'll build one in Republic Grand Ranch.
That
She's
is
buying
yet
a lot there.
to be determined. You have to
All
stay
right.
tuned and find out soon.
Stay tuned. Jim Lips is saying the crushed concrete is the cheapest to start with if you can find it for your construction drive. John is asking what happens if a cement truck or heavy equipment breaks a culvert during construction? Do we help fix that kind of issue?
So yeah, I mean, it's typically something we work on a case by case basis. We got to know what was happening. Was it correctly rated? Was it correctly installed? Was it installed to county specs? And then obviously it was something that was done, on accident that should not have happened. Then we square that away.
That's why we have insurance.
Yeah.
Sam is wondering about the cost of an inside fireplace compared to the outside fireplace.
Yeah. So inside is going to be less than an outside.
All righty.
In most cases, unless you're doing like a super Constitution inside fireplace. So.
Perfect. Carrie is saying, also want to include, we love our sales rep and the person who works at the front desk as they partner well and both have been amazing, making sure I was happy with our selections and helping me pull it together, and allowed her to come visit the design center 3 times to get everything finalized.
Good.
Good. We're glad you're having that experience. Brittany and Len are asking, is the slab for the parking area in front of the garage included in the base pricing, or would that be an additional cost?
That will be an additional cost. Great question.
Oh, Sam, we're about to disappoint him. Has lumber prices leveled off, or are they expected to go up, Eric?
Well, so they peaked in September, highest on record since they started recording them.
And then
we had high hopes that that was going to be the peak. They leveled off. They didn't go down. They leveled off there in September. And they have now, we got the pricing day before yesterday, Tuesday, and they have gone up 7% over what they were in September. That doesn't mean house prices are going up 7%. That means lumber prices went up. So unfortunately, no, the price of the house is going up. Much to our dismay.
Ray is asking if there's a site that compares and rates home builders. Not that I know of that does it well. It's not something, it's very difficult for them to get in touch with our customers and do kind of the actual, I'm a real customer, I'm verify that and get it together. So there's a couple that are trying that say they are, but really no. What I would look for, Ray, is what we were talking about before. Look for someone who's actually having a third party do ratings and make sure it's with a rating system that they're not allowed to filter. So you want to look for an Avid. Stay away from things like Trustpilot, because that's one I know you can filter what you're showing on your website to only show the good stuff. So just really ask questions and read about what the rating site is allowing the builder to do with those ratings. How are they allowed to be shown? We went with Avid because we wanted full transparency and wanted you guys to have the security of knowing that we can't filter out the bad stuff. You're seeing everything.
You can go to any of our design center pages on our website, on the actual like Waxahachie Design Center, Angleton Design Center. You can go and see the Avid rating there and click on that, and it will show you reviews.
Okay.
They're real verified customer reviews.
All right. Eric, Dan is asking the best way to get in touch with you if he's had some concerns about his build.
Send us a private message.
Send us a private message and we'll give you a call back. Brett is asking, how does Tilson work with VA loans? How does that process work?
Well, it works very similar to the others, other than I'd be very cautious about using VA unless you're doing it for, and I'm not trying to get too personal, but it's very advantageous if you have ratings of disability. It is an entitlement, and veterans are entitled to that as they should be. It has a very large funding fee if you don't meet the disability requirement that you don't need to do, because the rates right now are so competitive on conventional that there's no competitive rate reason to choose the VA. And with Tilson, it's not really a big deal that the biggest advantage they offer other than that is zero down. But all of our customers have something. They own their land. They have something in their land anyway. So none of them need, quote unquote, a zero down loan, because most of our customers aren't putting any money down out of their own pocket anyway, because the equity they have in the land. So And the appraisals are very complicated on the VA stuff. So the answer to your question is we do work with them. It's a government agency, so of course it's complicated, but we do VA loans, and our preferred lenders do VA.
We would encourage you to have our preferred lender look at all loan programs, though, and talk to them about which one really is more advantageous for you.
But thank you for your service.
Yes, absolutely. Jana is asking, what is the price difference between shingles and metal roof on a 1,700 square foot home?
Tens of thousands of dollars, and I'm not exaggerating.
Absolutely.
Oh, it'd be over 20,000 for sure. I don't know if it'd be close to 30, but somewhere between 20 and 30,000, if I had to guess. I really don't know. We hardly do them on that size house.
Okay. Pastor Tina is asking, how can you get a real feel of a designed house of a plan that's not available to visit and see one? So Eric, what's your recommendation there?
I would go to our website for sure. Number one, obviously go tour the model homes, because in most cases, what you're really thinking about, like the room dimensions are room dimensions. So a bedroom's a bedroom, 11 by 12, 12 by 14. We'll have a model somewhere nearby that's got something very comparable to that. And then as far as usually it's the kitchen family layout that most folks are really, really concerned with. And so we can try to find a plan that's really close and either show you what the virtual tour looks like. Dawn is constantly working with her team on doing rendered virtual tours. So, and not a lot of builders will do those, particularly the on your lot stuff. So we're kind of leading the charge on that, but that's really the best that you can do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. John is saying, sorry, Brett. John's replying to Brett, so I'm trying to see if this is for us.
We have subcultures conversations.
They're answering each other's questions.
Meanwhile, Angelica's
working with VA. All right. Okay. So Maria, when you do a we talked about the soil investigation, exactly what we're looking for. Alexandra's asking the difference between the construction loan route and Tilson. A lot more money in your pocket.
Yeah.
A lot more. So Alexandra, we don't require any kind of construction loan. We are going to pay for the cost of building your home using our own money. So you're not borrowing, you're not taking out a construction loan and then paying interest or having interest accrue during the entire time of construction. I will drop a comment to you with a link to our video about our Easy Buy program, because really the best way to understand it is to kind of watch that, because we really break down what the difference is for you and what it means. So that'd be the best way to learn about that. Donna's asking, when we bring in dirt, who is paying for the dirt?
Well, it depends on how much dirt's being brought in. So we include a certain amount in every county in which we build. It varies based on county, and anything over and above that, we give you the price, but we do it way before we ever break ground. So you'll know prior to when we start construction exactly what that's going to cost.
Okay. Kevin is saying he has an approximately half an acre lot in unincorporated Bexar County with an existing mobile home on site. No HOA, no restrictions. Could we work with him or direct him in starting with demolition on that and preparation for a new home on the site?
We can, yeah. So reach out to our Bernie location and they can really help that.
Angel says you're not in your usual office. He actually is. He's just turned his desk.
I turned my desk around. So I'm not, the attic is still like right here, the roof. But I got some feedback from our videographer that I look like I was in my mom's attic, which is not true. In my granddad's attic. It's very different.
Brian is saying he's done his deposit and his design appointment. How long do we think before his stakeout site evaluation will happen?
Depends a little on where you're building done, but it's typically we try to get it done within 3 weeks, but it could take as much as 5 right now. But we try to get it done in 3 weeks.
Okay. Laura is asking, do stone or stucco options change often? Can we look now and still be confident that something the same or similar will be available in 18 to 24 months?
It's the stucco and stone doesn't really change very much. Yeah. I mean, stucco is just a paint color.
Just paint, so, yeah.
Yeah. And stone colors don't change very much.
We are adding gray this year, though. So we're adding some options, but we're not taking anything away as far as stone goes this year.
I got a question here about, does 5,000 PSI overkill for a driveway? That was before the other. And the answer is
yes. Yeah, I'm on Facebook. That's on YouTube.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine.
The answer is yes. It's a little overkill. I mean, it'd be fine, but 3,000 is adequate.
Okay. Let's see. Stephen is asking if the builder makes any build changes for the foundation. Are there cost adjustments made?
There could be, yes. I mean, it's not on every house that we have to do that, but yes, if the engineer comes back and requires something over and above what we include in that particular county, and again, what we've done is obviously we have a lot of data from historical builds, and we went through and analyzed, what has the engineer been requiring the last 3, 5, 8 years in this particular area. For 80% or 90% of the houses that we build, let's build for that. And then, you don't want to charge 80% of the people for what 10 or 15% of the people are having to do for extreme situations. So if it does come back that they want, hard points or, 48-inch or 50-inch deep beams instead of the 30 or 36 that we include, then yeah, we give you a price on that and move forward from there.
Okay. So Charles has a clarification question on Easy Buy and all of that. So if I agree to build with Tilson and put $1,500 down, I can pay for land improvements as part of the 10% down. Or is the 10% due immediately when that first $1,500 deposit is put down?
It is not due immediately. Great question. And no, you can do those improvements and that counts towards your 10%.
Okay.
You just have to have the 10% before we start construction. So
okay.
No,
So
you don't have to have it
during that upfront time. That's when you need to be doing all of that stuff. Okay.
That's right.
Perfect. Martina is asking if we have you put in a slab for a shop, can we have plumbing and electric run to the pad?
You can, yeah.
Okay. Hugh is asking if we can generate a 3D render for a client's own plan.
We do not. No, we don't do that, Hugh. Great question.
Okay. And I think that's all I see on YouTube. So if I missed it, post your comment again.
We have a thank. We have a thank.
We do have a thank. Mark thanks us for today's seminar. Looking forward to breaking ground for construction of our modified Fredericksburg.
As are we. Thanks, Mark.
Eric, how are you doing on time? Because we have 126 more comments on Facebook.
I'm okay for another probably 15, 20
okay.
minutes.
So we will get through as many as we can.
Yes.
So if I skip you, we will circle back. Sorry, guys, we've never had this many questions.
This is great, though. We're glad you're engaged.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Stacy is just saying she's really glad she chose us. Just closed on her home in Liberty County. Donald is saying he's not seen a lot of Travis floor plans built, but we signed on one this last Sunday. He asked a salesperson a lot of questions, and JR has been working with him with knowledge and patience. So thank you so much, JR. It's wonderful. Carrie is saying what her charge was from shingles to roofing. So you can look at that if you're curious. Pastor Tina is asking how far away should septic tank be from the home site?
It's got to be at least 10 feet away. But that's typically far enough. And in some cases, we've seen it as far as 20, but I think it has to be at least 10 feet.
Okay, great. Ro is asking if we can build a next gen home.
Whatever you want to define that to be, Ro, we probably can. I think I know what you're talking about, where we've got additional kind of living quarters. What we're actually seeing more and more from our customers, because they have more land to build on, is we're seeing they build a main house and then one of our small casita floor plans beside that home. But we have done others that have, a kind of a mother-in-law suite included in the same footprint of the plan. So.
Okay. Yeah. So we can customize. However you like. I think the next gen, is a trademarked term for a specific builder, and it's just incorporating another living area. So we can do that in the house. We can do it separately. However you like. And I guess Facebook was actually giving me the total comment count. So
I think we're close.
We're close. Jessica just says thank you, and John is very excited because he signs tomorrow. So
wonderful, John. We appreciate that
for the time.
All right. Well, we did it again. We talked for an hour and a half about sewer systems and water lines. So thank you, Dawn. You did awesome. Appreciate that.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you all so much for watching this. We thank you for as great of a 2020 as we could have asked for. We loved engaging with you guys the whole time, and we are super looking forward to doing this for all of this year and beyond. So tell your friends to tune in. We'd be glad to help them. This will be posted.
Let us know if there's anything else you want us to cover. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe. There's a little subscribe button that you can hit, and it'll be notified every time we go live.
Did we just do our first smash that like?
We did our first smash the button.
I refuse. But please subscribe. Please like. We do not monetize our channel. I want to say that. So we do it strictly for your education. So that we would do that so that you could be notified when we're going to go live.
Absolutely.
Thank y'all so much for doing this. And we hope to soon make you part of the Tilson family. Bye, everybody.
Bye.